Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Cheddar, and today we're finishing up our exhibit build and also creating a saltwater crocodile habitat. Now, in our last episode, we started this build and now it's just time to finish it up. If you're interested in viewing prior episodes of my EcoLife zoo, be sure to click the card above. Now, with that being said, let's get right into the video. Now, prior viewers may have seen that we have a new intro and just overall a new design to this channel. To celebrate 500 views and 25 subs, I felt like we needed an update, you know? Now, I do want to start off by saying thank you so much to everyone who's been watching. I truly appreciate everything y'all have given me on this channel, and I'm just so thankful. It's just so nice to watch this community grow, and I'm so excited for y'all to join me in this journey. And down below, let me know what you think of the new design. Do you like it? Do you feel like it could be changed? Let me know. Now, I know y'all aren't here to talk about the design of my channel, so let's discuss what you came here for, this build. Now, when I started off, the bare space in front of this building it was really bothering me. I felt like it needed some dimension, and I recognized an issue in our zoo and thought I could do something about it. Now, our current shops are overwhelmed with customers, and it's really putting strain on our staff. So, what better way to fill this space than to add in a small shop area? So, I started off by just creating a basic shape for our shops to live in, and then made this very simple patio area. I added in some picnic benches because, what's a mini food court without seating, you know? And y'all may or may not notice, but I spent literally 10 million years on this awkward gap in between the pathing. It was just super irritating to me, but I sat back and was like, and this is just a game. So, I just simply added my tried and true wall trim, just as a border, and just spammed down the buffalo grass to make the space feel less awkward. Honestly, if I didn't point it out, y'all probably wouldn't have thought anything of it, but I just gotta be honest. Honestly, the most consuming part of this area wasn't even the build itself, but actually placing down the grass and wall trim. I feel like 90% of the time in this game, I'm just placing down foliage, and the last 10% is literally everything else in the game. That may just be me, but that's not the point. Also, in case y'all hear any they just attacked each other under my feet. Okay, in case y'all hear any random noises, I'm currently cat sitting one of my past foster babies, and she's in the room with me along with my little precious Stink. I'll add in a little pic of them for y'all. But they currently have the zoomies, and if you have cats, then you know they just do whatever they want. So I can't control them. They are their own little cats, and who am I to stop them? Anyways, after I finished placing down 10 million pieces of grass and probably a billion wall trim, I added in this kangaroo from the Australian Pack DLC that it freaking moves, bro. How cool is that? Anyways, let me get back on topic. I then just finished adding on the roofing for the build and just the overall basic shape. I then had to literally force myself to add more wall trim, because if I didn't do this now, it would never happen. At this point, this channel could just be called Cheddar Pot Pie Places Wall Trim, and it would honestly be an accurate representation. I also made this smoky little solar panel fancy. I swear it gets fixed at some point in the video, who knows when, but it's working now. Anyways, our first shop is the Hot Dog Squad, which I unlocked through our research. From here, I had to wait for our drink shop research to complete, so I moved on to creating another staff path, and I went to check out our 2 new baby Kiwis. Now, in the outro of our last episode, you may have seen a sneak peek of one of these little guys. His name is Cobb, and he is quite the character. Our second baby Kiwi is named Pie, and he's a bit more shy than his brother. Now, by the time I finished getting clips of these guys, the research for the drink shop still wasn't ready, so I just decided to start working on the saltwater crocodile habitat. I began by adding in some concrete to give myself a very rough outline, so I just had something to work with. I then began just chaotically placing down null barriers to make sure I got the size I wanted for this habitat before building some crazy custom fence. At first, I felt like I needed a larger space for these guys, but I'm honestly glad I stuck with my initial plan of housing them here. And before I forget, if y'all are interested, the education boards I'm currently using are from Sherlockian Gamer. The Steam Workshop has a plethora of great blueprints, and you should definitely try them out in your zoos. Now, at this point, I had to deal with my biggest enemy. You may be thinking, oh, more pathing. No. I had to terraform, okay? Specifically, I had to terraform for this habitat, okay? In case y'all didn't know, I despise terraforming, specifically terraforming for water habitats. And as you can tell, my other habitats do not have any water in them because I stay away from it. If I don't have to do it, I'm not going to. But you know, these are saltwater crocodiles, so they kind of need water. So I know I sound dramatic, but y'all have to agree with me, okay? Making any type of water habitat just takes so long. It's such a pain, okay? And I'm sure I'll improve as I continue to play the game, but it's just something I've always had trouble with. But this time, I was smart, okay? I watched some tutorials on how to effectively create a water habitat, and I defeated the dreaded water in this game, okay? Now, honestly, adding water into a habitat is all about just trusting the process. Don't give up on it, just go with it, and I promise you'll be satisfied in the end. Now from here, I moved on to the shelter and I just made it look semi-presentable to guests. I wasn't really that worried about it at this point. I mainly just wanted to be able to have the gators in our habitat and them not be able to escape, you know? So I then began working on a custom fence for these guys. I wanted the fence to be quite dramatic because I feel like if I went to a zoo and there was just a little baby fence between me and one of these gigantic saltwater crocodiles, I would lose my mind, okay? Now, this fence is quite basic, but it took me a while because I chose to semi-line it up with the staff path. Now, that was definitely on me, but I feel like it makes it look so much nicer in the end. I've actually had saltwater crocodiles in my zoos before. In my first zoo, I was definitely not prepared, so I hope I can take all that knowledge into this zoo. The babies take forever to age, and I did not realize that, and before I knew it, there were like 10 babies, and the habitat was just overcrowded. They didn't have any space, they were unhappy. Now, I don't want this to happen again, so as soon as they have offspring, we're going to use contraceptives to prevent any of the things that happened in my last zoo, okay? We're not doing that. I just don't want overcrowding because it's already happening in the quokka habitat, and I don't want to make it any worse than it already is. Now, I do promise our quokkas are fine. I've just had to release a lot of them into the wild, which is a good thing. That's a good thing, okay? So that they are actually happy in their habitats. I'm mainly just sending off the babies as soon as they age up. Now, while this time lapse is going, I want to share my future plans. So in the next episode, we'll be adding in our dingoes. I've actually never made a habitat for these guys before, so I'm quite excited to see how it turns out. Now, remember, if you're enjoying the video so far, be sure to hit the like button. Doing so really helps me reach those who like my content just as much as you do. And while you're down there, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I would love for you to be a part of the community my followers and I are creating. After I finished up this barrier, I began working on cleaning up the space in front of the habitat. For most of this time, I just was adding in foliage and education boards. Nothing too fancy, but it really makes this space so much more, I guess I could say, elevated. After I finished this, our research was finally done and I could add in our Gulpy slush, making our mini food court complete. And since the barrier was done and our mini food court was complete, it was time to bring in our saltwater crocodiles. Now, first up is Lime. She is a female albino saltwater crocodile. And our second croc is Lemon, our gigantic male, who is also albino. Thank you so much to Joseph for the name suggestion and your kind words. If you'd like to name an animal, be sure to leave your suggestion in the comments and we can definitely make it happen. Now that we had our crocs in, it was time to finish off their habitat. Like I've stated in prior videos, I normally bring in my animals before working on the scenery so that I can see exactly what they need in their habitat. I'm one that goes absolutely overboard with scenery, so it's extremely important that I can see exactly how much they need, or else they will not be happy. Now, these guys do not need a lot of foliage, so I mainly focused on adding in foliage around the back of the habitat along the plain wall. This was mainly for aesthetic purposes, honestly. Realistically, these guys only care about the water in their habitat, so this foliage was mainly just so this area didn't look super ugly to our guest, and most importantly, myself. Now, saltwater crocodiles are extremely territorial, so we can only have up to one male and one female in this habitat at a time. But even though we can only have 2 adults, the baby crocs usually take 14 years, oh my gosh, to mature, so this habitat will not look nearly as bare as you may think. These guys are mainly found in Southeast Asia, East India, and North Australia, hence why they are in our exhibit area. If y'all would like to have them in your zoo, they are actually from the base game, so you can add them without paying for additional DLC. Now, if y'all are interested in learning more about saltwater crocodiles and other animals from Planet Zoo, be sure to check out the Zoopedia that's in the game. There are also a plethora of educational sites at your fingertips that can aid you in learning more about the animals we share our planet with. Now, my favorite fact about these guys from the Zoopedia is that they're able to eat cane toads because they're immune to the toxins that cane toads carry. If you may or may not remember from our last video, cane toads have had a negative impact on Australia's ecosystem, so it's awesome to see how these crocs are able to aid in controlling the population of these cane toads. After I completed the crocodile enclosure, I began finishing up the inside of our exhibit build. I added in gas barriers so that our guests couldn't clip through the walls. I still haven't decided on a name for this building, so if y'all have any suggestions, be sure to leave them in the comments. Now, after I added in these guest barriers, I got distracted and decided to add in a mini staff building. I kept it super simple because it will never really be seen, honestly. This building has a large staff room and a keeper hut inside. I added this here so our keepers didn't have to walk as far to feed the animals. If the buildings the staff need to carry out their duties are too far away, it will take them much more time to complete the task, and they will be much less efficient. If y'all are having issues with animals being hungry or just not being taken care of properly, it could be that your staff buildings are too far away or you don't have enough workers to carry out the tasks in your zoo. It could also be that your staff are not properly trained. Due to these issues, I like to sprinkle staff buildings throughout the zoo so that they don't have to travel long distances. If there still is a high workload or my staff are not meeting expectations, I'll simply just hire more staff to lighten the load. After the staff area was completed, I began working on, you guessed it, adding in wall trim and some buffalo grass. I did this in front of the Kiwi habitat just to clean it up. After I was fairly satisfied with the outside of our building, I moved on to the inside. I found these beautiful mosaic saltwater crocodile murals on the Steam Workshop and I just could not resist. These were created by Irish X Lily and they are absolutely fantastic. They have a bunch more murals like this on the Steam Workshop, so be sure to check their blueprints out. Now to add these murals in, I simply grouped the individual pieces together and duplicated them. I then just shifted them over to the wall and placed them. I was planning on doing something similar to this, but when I saw these on the Steam Workshop, I knew they would be 10 times better than anything I would be able to create. I personally know my limits, and luckily there are people in the Planet Zoo community who are willing to share their creations with everyone. I also added in some seating and trash cans so our guests would be able to rest and admire the beautiful artwork on the walls. Off camera, I will also be adding seating throughout our park because we are definitely lacking in that department. I honestly think my favorite part of this area is what I'm adding in now. I love how the croc mural just wraps around the vending machines. It makes everything look super flush and neat. Now the last thing I did was add in these custom signs that were created by Lucas070. I've had these in my game for quite a long time and I felt like this was the perfect opportunity to use them. If you're interested in these custom signs, be sure to check out Lucas on the Steam Workshop. The most challenging part of placing these was definitely just getting them to line up the way I wanted, but it was 100% worth it in the end. After these were placed, I simply added in some finishing touches to this area. If y'all have any suggestions for our EcoLife zoo, be sure to leave them in the comments. I'm always open to y'all's suggestions or ways to improve this zoo. Now, going forward, the plan is to post videos every Friday for y'all. These videos take quite a lot of time to make, and for these to be the best they can possibly be, it's important that I have time to make them up to standard. So, y'all will be getting videos weekly. Now, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you've made it this far, be sure to hit the like button, and if you'd like to keep up with EcoLife Zoo, subscribe so you don't miss anything. In our next episode, we'll be creating a giant dingo habitat. And if you have any name suggestions for any animals we currently have, or for our future dingoes, be sure to leave them in the comments. Okay, I will see y'all next Friday. Bye guys.